In violent films, there are always killers and non-killers. Characters who murder without a second thought, others who couldn't hurt a fly, and many in between. A common situation that extends throughout many genres is when young men who have not yet proven themselves must assert their masculinity through the life-changing task of their first murder. The most compelling dilemma is the moment of hesitation, right before these characters decide to either kill or not kill, which demonstrates the severe anxiety which violence of this sort brings. These men, who are often young, sympathetic, and rational, are fascinated by the constructed mythic male figures such as the Western cowboy, Japanese samurai, and the mafia mob boss, and seek to prove themselves worthy of these titles. In this video essay, I will use 3 films, Unforgiven, Seven Samurai, and The Godfather, to examine these particular moments, looking at the similarities and differences between these characters and genres, and whether or not they are successful in fulfilling the masculine role of hero. First, I'd like to present a classic example of this situation at work. In Unforgiven, a late Western directed by the poster boy of the genre, Clint Eastwood, the character of the Schofield Kid is literally defined by his weapon, the Schofield rifle. He completely adopts the identity of a Western cowboy. He pretends that he has killed many times in the past, specifically to appear more like a legend, like William Money, Clint Eastwood's character. Yet, when the Schofield Kid is finally given his chance to truly become the violent hero that he wants to be, he hesitates before shooting the criminal in the outhouse. The Schofield Kid seems to realize for the first time the complete inhumanity of cold-blooded murder of this kind. Later on, he repents emotionally for what he just did.
I don't kill nobody no more. I ain't like you, Will.
And drinks his problems away with whiskey. The Schofield Kid, as a young, eager, and rational male character, faithfully represents this drastic difference between the actual act of murder and the violent masculinity with cultural heroes such as the Western cowboy turned into an unattainable myth. Another case in which an eager young man kills for the first time to prove his masculinity is in Seven Samurai, a seminal Japanese film by Akira Kurosawa. Katsushiro is taken on as an apprentice because he wants to become more like the masculinized myth of the perfect samurai. This desire is evident in his obsessive respect for Kyuzo, a more experienced elder. Violence isn't the only way in which Katsushiro is confirming his identity as a fully grown man. His intimate relationship with Shino makes him, according to Kanbei, a more capable warrior. When the final battle scene arrives, Katsushiro murders a relatively helpless enemy who is attempting to escape. We see him immediately collapse, and later in the sequence, he cries hysterically for the loss of his friends and the destruction of human life. Katsushiro's moment of hesitation is less pronounced due to differences in time period, genre, and directorial preference, but I still find it accurate to say that this example fits into my framework of the eager young apprentice attempting to assert their masculinity through their first murder. While it's unclear whether or not he will go on to kill as a samurai later in life, it's clear that this choice was extremely distressing and scarring to him. Finally, The Godfather, directed by Francis Ford Coppola, provides an excellent example of the transition to manhood through violence, and it also complicates my findings in terms of the character's reaction to the murder. Michael Corleone, son of the mythic figure of mafia masculinity, the Godfather, is a sensitive college boy who recently returned from war. Although it's unclear whether or not he killed while he was a soldier, it's clear that he's unaccepted as a full man within the patriarchal system of the Corleone family, and he's overshadowed by the reckless male dominance of his brother, Sonny.
Nice college boy, huh? Didn't want to get mixed up in the family business? Huh? Now you want to gun down a police captain, why? Because he slapped you in the face a little bit? Huh? What do you think this is, the army where you shoot him a mile away? You got to get up close like this, and bada bing, you blow their brains all over your nice Ivy League suit. Come here. Mwah!
He volunteers to kill both the drug trafficker Solozzo and the police chief McCluskey in order to re-establish his masculinity and be seen as worthy of the mythic title of mob boss. When it actually comes time to commit the crime, however, Michael freezes. He doesn't follow his instructions to shoot immediately after he left the bathroom and forgets to drop the gun when he was supposed to. In short, it was a sloppy job. The difference between The Godfather and the other films I've looked at so far, however, is that Michael doesn't appear to regret or repent for his murderous actions. In fact, the film critic Giudice explained, quote, "We witness Michael complete his transformation from reserved outsider to authoritative leader. It should be noted that his decision to murder the rival gang leader is both morally viable and strategically correct within the film's context." Now, while the Schofield Kid and Katsushiro recoil from the moral weight of cold-blooded murder, Michael seems to embrace it as a part of his transformed identity into a remorseless mob boss, the heroic ideal that he was originally desired to be. Cinematically, characters in these situations are given a clear choice between the morally wrong thing they're pressured into doing and the emasculating anxiety which they feel. Directors often bounce between close-ups of the victim, who appears frightened and frozen, and the potential killer, which shows in clear anxiety and stress as they make their decisions. Close-ups are an important visual cue to the audience that we're supposed to identify with the character and imagine their thoughts at the moment. Another cinematic tool which directors use to show this indecision is non-diegetic soundtrack music. This is evident in some form in every film that I chose. Chilling scores in Unforgiven.
No!
The tragic melancholy in Seven Samurai. In particular, the non-diegetic train noises in The Godfather. All of these moments show that characters in their most vulnerable and conflicted state, which is conveyed both narratively and cinematically to the audience. In these films, three eager young apprentices have their first opportunity to truly become the mythic male hero they've always wanted to be. Whether that's the Western cowboy, the Japanese samurai, or the mafia mob boss, through the cold-blooded murder of defenseless enemies. Each film presents a variation on the theme. In Unforgiven, the Schofield Kid renounces all violence and recoils from the figure of the Western cowboy. In Seven Samurai, Katsushiro is also deeply affected by the murder, but may or may not continue on to a life of violence as a samurai warrior. And finally, in The Godfather, Michael Corleone kills in cold blood and later succeeds his father to become the head of the crime family. These three films show the cinematic and narrative ways in which masculinity is constructed through violence and murder across genres.